Stand up.
Oh, you see that.
Lonnie, stand up.
Let me try I have my camera for that.
I've never been one to stand behind the podium. I always kind of wander around. I'd like to thank you for being here today, and thank you for allowing me to say a few words today. In every generation, there is a day which we can remember where we were. December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor, 6:05 a.m. JFK's assassination in 62. And for the last 10 years, it's 9/11. And 9/11 is one of those items that will not only be remembered by our generation, but will be remembered for generations to come. See, 9/11 was unique. 9/11, obviously, was an attack against Americans on American soil. But more importantly, it was an attack against a way of life. It was a way of life that our forefathers created to provide us, to provide our children, and to provide our grandchildren a better way of life. We are, no doubt, the best country in the world. Despite whatever problems may be going on, despite what may be happening, there is no doubt in anybody's mind, anywhere in the world, that the best place to be is right here.
Amen.
Right in there.
That's right.
And 9/11 provides us so many lessons. You know, 9/11 really wasn't about an attack that happened. It was an attack against our way of life. And we have to remember these lessons and keep them in mind with what our forefathers, when they created this country, intended. And we have to protect ourselves. But we have to protect ourselves within the freedoms, within the frameworks, so we don't violate the liberties that they so willfully and craftily gave us. America stands strong because we have endured to those basic fundamental principles. One of those basic fundamental principles that has never gone away and will never go away, as long as I'm an American, is in God we trust.
In God we trust.
Those people who know me know that I never write a speech. I speak from the heart. I don't think there's any other way to do it. I think that you have to look up and you have to realize and look deep within yourself what you feel. And there are times that people can try and be politically correct about what they're saying, and that you're not supposed to talk about religion, you're not supposed to talk to God. The day I can't talk to God, I will be talking to God up there. So I guarantee you, when you forget those basic principles, you're in trouble. Now let me tell you another thing that 9/11 taught us. You know, although 9/11 was really an attack on American soil, and it was against Americans, there were 2,678 people that lost their lives from the Pentagon and the World Trade Center that day. Of those 2,768 people, they represented 115 nations. This really wasn't a singular attack against America. It was an attack against a way of life. That way of life that we have, that way of life which we endure and that we persevere with, is spreading across the world in ways of now that we've never seen before. If you don't believe that, just look and see what's happened over in the Middle East this year alone. This has been a record year. This has been a year where people are understanding that there is a better way to live, that there is a better way to take care of people. And a lot of those ways are fundamental principles within the Bible. Remember the ice storm a few years ago, about 3 years ago? That ice storm killed 18 people in the Midwest, but you know what? Not a single one of them in Oklahoma. You know why? Because in Oklahoma, we go check on our neighbors. We go check on our friends. We go check on our relatives. We go take care of each other. It doesn't make any difference whether you're related to the person or not. You take care of them. I take care of a 92-year-old lady who has no living relatives anywhere in this world. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. Because it's the compassionate thing to do. And what we have to make sure and remember from 9/11 is that we remember that that's the lesson. Lesson number 2, life is incredibly precious. 5 seconds made the difference between me being able to call my brother this morning and tell him I loved him and me visiting him at the 9/11 memorial. See, my brother's company owned the top 5 floors of World Trade Center 1. Had an office in New York, Atlanta, and Kansas City. The day before, on 9/10, his administrative assistant of 16 years said, "Harlan, New York's just a board meeting. It's just something that we just got to go over numbers. They really need you in Atlanta. Why don't you go to Atlanta?" He said, "All right, that's fine." It took 5 seconds to say that. What happened? Rather than him going to New York, he went to Atlanta, she went to New York. Friday, I very rarely would ever pull out an iPhone, but you ought to read this. Friday, my brother sent out an email to the people that worked for him, and if you'd allow me, I'd like to read that to you. It said, "Everybody, as you know, this weekend is the 10th anniversary of the tragedy in New York at the World Trade Center. I'm asking that you take a moment to remember one of our own that died that day, Julie Geist. Julie was a vibrant, intelligent, funny, and compassionate person who was in our New York office on 9/11, doing a presentation in the boardroom on the 105th floor. She called her partner while in the stairwell walking down, and to my knowledge, that was the last known contact with Julie. I think that we owe it to Julie and all of those whose spirit was set free that day to remember them and cherish those memories. They lost the opportunity to be with their loved ones, to practice their chosen vocation, and to experience the simple things in life like the warmth of the sun on a cool fall day. We should not forget that there are bad people who do bad things, but Julie and all of those who were lost wouldn't want us to focus on the negative. But the gift of being able to get up and have the choice about how we live each and every day. So at 10:28 Eastern, this Sunday morning, think of Julie. Say a prayer, give a wink and a nod to the sun, and take a moment to promise to cherish each day and those that you love. The real lesson that he learned that day is that life is very, very precious. There's not a single one of us in this room today that has any sort of guarantee that we're going to wake up tomorrow morning. Don't believe so? Try 3 days in ICU in March. Guarantee you my whole perspective on life changed. Today is a gift. That's why they call it